Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell the stories about people here in Clarksville, Tennessee who make this place the greatest place to live in America. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to bring you great content episode after episode, all the way back from episode number 1, of people from all across our community, every diverse and unique sphere of people who are making dynamic change and making our community better in so many ways. Sometimes our guests and I have a long history. We went to school together, we grew up together, and sometimes I'm getting to meet leaders from around our community for the very first time. Today's is one of those episodes. I've got Mary Laremore from our community. She is heavily involved in Butterfly Moments. This is one of those organizations that I've heard about from a distance. I've had friends like Shep Webster and others tell me how amazing it is. And so I am really interested to hear more about what she is doing and leading the charge to help combat a lot of issues that are unique to our community, but also face our larger community as well. So we're really excited to have her on the show. If you can, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, interact with the social channel on some way. Leave us a comment. It really helps us spread our positive and impactful message about Clarksville and about what makes this place the greatest place to live in America. So do that and continue on through the episode. But if you're just listening or if you're watching, Mary, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So as I introed the episode, there's some times where I know a lot about an organization. You know, we had a chance to talk to Austin Peay's football coach. I'd keep up with them way more than I should. So I knew a lot about what was going on. Yeah. And then sometimes we get this chance where I don't really know much. And it is just a learning experience for me. But what I want our readers and our listeners and our audience to know more about is how many dynamic things are happening in our community that we might not even know about. And sometimes I think that is powerful to even have the belief in Clarksville that there are things that we know about that are happening, and then there are also amazing things that sometimes we don't know about. And I know you've got your own community of Butterfly Moments who they know everything. We're going to get into that. You might give us some names on that. But for some others, we're going to start from the very beginning and tell the story about Butterfly Moments and how you're making a really positive difference. First of all, this is not something new. This has been going on more than a decade. You've been involved with it for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you the opportunity off the top for those who may not be familiar with Butterfly Moments. Let's have the elevator pitch, the 30 to second. Here is what we're about. Here is what we do. Here's what we're really good at. Here's what we're making our community better.
30 seconds, elevator spiel.
Yeah.
So Butterfly Moments is Women's Recovery Center, but we also work with veterans. We provide housing and other addiction recovery program services. So with housing, the ladies will come into a house. They live together. We have a new 15-bed home that we just built, and they come into the home and all of their needs are met. The requirements are a diagnosis of mental illness and or substance abuse, which if they're together, it's co-occurring.
Sure.
And the veterans also come in and they receive a key to their own home. They live separate on the most beautiful property that you've ever seen from the background.
Okay, I got you.
And all the services are available. What they need is there, from hygiene and clothing and relapse prevention classes, support in the community. Yeah. So we're advocating for mental health treatment. And the veterans, it's mostly case management.
Yes.
But they walk into an apartment, brand new build, and everything they need is there.
Wow.
Living room furniture, bedroom, the beds are fully made, food in the refrigerator, food in the cabinets, the bathroom ready, and a peace. That's what we really give, a peace that a lot of people with mental illness and substance use disorder haven't experienced in a long time.
Yeah, it's a long list of challenges that some of our dear members of our community face to get to what we would consider basic essentials. And so it sounds like you're plowing the field ahead of them and giving them that peace, their basic necessities, and helping them access that. So thank you for what you do. It is really, really important. And I know our community is better for what you do in a lot of ways, but I do want to hear, how did it become a passion of yours? And how did it become something that you were willing to invest a lot of your life into? Because this is also as a caseworker or as a therapist or as the leader of this organization, it's not an easy challenge to overcome. So it takes a lot of your time, energy, and talents. And so what made it special for you?
Yeah. Do I hear you asking me what is my why?
That's a great one.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can Simon Sinek this moment, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so my why is in Tennessee, there's over 196,000 people who have mental illness and or co-occurring disorder. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we don't have that number post-COVID, and we don't have it specifically for Clarksville. And the reason for that is there's so many cases that go untouched. Mm. That because there's so much shame, there's so much guilt associated with addiction within the family, and there's so much negative stigma. And it's just when a person is ready to recover, there are a lot of places who will provide treatment 30 days, 7 days, you know, also detox. But what do you do afterwards? I'm about to tell you my why. Okay, so my name is Mary. And I am a licensed master social worker. I am a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. And I'm also a certified peer recovery specialist. What that means is I am a person in long-term recovery from substance abuse and mental illness. And that's my why. So I was in Clarksville, and this is where I used drugs. This is where I disappointed family. Mm. This is where I was involved with the law enforcement. This is what I call home now. You know, I've been here almost 30 years. So this is where Clarksville is where I call home. I knew this is where I was supposed to be. I just didn't know how to be. Mm-hmm. I know that I am a person who has an affinity to drugs. Once I start, I can't stop. And so I went off to treatment. I actually left Clarksville, went off to treatment, drug rehab. And when I came back, I moved to my mom's house. And, you know, some people can drink socially. Some people can drink, sure, I don't know, once a month, and they're okay. I don't like those type people because I'm not kind of jealous of it. No. And I didn't understand after treatment that I could not drink. Mm. So I drank, and I relapsed and went back to my drug of no choice for 5 months. During those 5 months, I actually went to jail, and I wrote the vision of Butterfly Moments Women's Recovery Center in a jail cell. Wow. On a little piece of paper.
Here in Montgomery County.
In Montgomery County Jail, when my mom was a Clarksville police officer.
Sure.
So she turned me in, and I wrote the vision. And when I was released, I knew that I had a purpose for everything that I had done. That I've gone through.
How old were you at that time?
How old was I?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to tell you now. Okay, so part of my lived experience is my mind doesn't move as quick with calculating. Yeah. So now I'm 55, and I have 10 years, 10 months of recovery. Okay. So give me before that. So I was 40.
Early 40s, mid 40s.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, So, and I've been in Clarksville, been in leadership, been in the church, you know, living a life that nobody knew the other side to. And I didn't feel comfortable sharing that with people because I didn't want to be judged. So my why is that when it was time for my life to change, I knew my life had changed, but I didn't have anywhere to go to, so I created it. So in my mom's house, you could go in, and I always smelled food cooking, and I always had something that I could wipe. She would have me wipe her plant leaves or, you know, something, because the mind of someone in the beginning of recovery, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't used to. I had been like 3 years that I was homeless and, you know, using drugs every day and just walking the streets, and I didn't have a safe space. I was living out of a bag. So, you know, sometimes you don't remember your toothbrush. I would leave it at the other place. So there was times I didn't wake up, wash my face, brush my teeth, comb my hair, shower. So those are the things that are restored to women, an opportunity to not be subject to anyone other than yourself, to plan your own recovery. They'll come and tell me their goals, and I hold them accountable to it. Yep. understanding that everyone has their own way of recovering. So the name, people always ask me where'd the name come from.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That was a part of the vision.
Okay.
I have no idea than what I heard and what I wrote. And this is our 10th year as
so
a
you've been involved
501c3.
from the very first vision,
Yeah.
Butterfly Moments. This is your vision coming to fruition.
Yeah.
That's good. So when you meet someone now, and let's say they have a vision for how their life wants to change, and it lines up with what your organization is good at, how does it make a difference that this was your story also? And a lot of the things that they're telling you that they may feel ashamed of or don't want to share out loud, you can say, oh no, you don't have to be ashamed here. This was my experience too. I understand. And then they see you both leading the organization, but seeing you give them a way to healing.
Yes. It's like I said, there's stigma associated, with substance abuse and with mental illness. So when someone comes and talks, they immediately say, you don't understand. They don't. I didn't bring a book. I don't have my before and after pictures. Okay, so they don't understand that there is life after recovery and it looks a whole lot different, but that there's a purpose for what we go through if we will just acknowledge that. So not just myself, but Lyria and Michelle, our staff that we were recently able to hire.
Wow.
After 10 years, right?
That's still a big move.
Empathy and compassion and a willingness to be self-aware as staff, right? I want us to acknowledge why we feel the way we feel about someone, and be honest with it so that we can be of best service. Because empathy, it does get to a point where you have more of the drug use and the mental illness crises in your past, right? And the future starts looking brighter. And that's my story. I stick to it. You can make it through it. I tell everybody that I work with, I'm your greatest fan. I'm your greatest supporter. This does, the beginning is where we start, but this is a lifelong journey in recovery, and I'm going to be here.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And I mean, I do want to hear a little bit about, you were getting into this story of you caught the vision for Butterfly Moments still in jail. You come out, your mom is a critical part of this story of giving you a safe place to land. But you've got a vision for something that outpaces you staying at your mom's house. So I want to know if you can remember what were some of those challenges that you had as a person who was recovering and experiencing this recovery process. What were some of the hardest things of going from your mom's house to now your own place and then getting a place for someone else?
Yeah, that's really challenging because it's almost like a baby. They get up and they start walking, but they can't navigate that step dropping or stepping up, and you're just running. And I found myself doing that before, just moving forward, and it was always looking outward. I didn't see what people were looking back at.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So in early recovery, there were some things that I was doing, pride, feeling like someone owed me something.
Okay.
Having an expectation that if I say, I have 2 years in recovery, that someone would trust me, giving me a donation, those type things. So I did have to take my time and navigate. And I always found something in recovery to keep my attention so that I wouldn't get ahead of myself. And I learned more. Yeah. I knew that the more I knew about what I had gone through, because I was on one side of it, I didn't know the professional side of it. So now I'm able to provide more support.
So tell me a little bit about that professional side. So you eventually get this LCSW, you get the academics that come along with helping others. Was that post-recovery? Did you have these in place before, or when did all that come about?
No, I didn't have that in place before, but when I was using drugs, I actually had an MBA. I graduated from Austin Peay, and
I think that's something that people don't understand sometimes is that the stigma, the experience that people don't know is you think of people who are not high achievers.
Yeah.
But yet high achievers are some of the ones who may be able to hide their problems the easiest. Their intelligence is very high. They're really highly productive people. They have networks in place. They can play the game here and there. So what I was hearing is like that social work aspect came after recovery.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Growing up, I hated people who were addicts, who would use that as an excuse for leaving their children, for not paying bills, for not moving forward in any area of their lives. And then I became that person. And I have such a fondness for someone who can fight through what's meant to hold them back, you know? Because I know, I remember my first drink was at 3 years old.
Wow.
I remember it vividly, and I had some things going on in my life then that at 3 years old, it was feasible to me to taste this, what was in the cup, either brown or that was clear, because it helped me to sleep through a difficult time. You know, I wasn't in the room by myself. I don't want to get too graphic, but going through molestation. I was able to sleep through that with the taste of that, what was in the cup. So it was a long time coming that I toyed with a lot of different drugs and alcohol, and I even substituted other things, eating and lying and all these other things that people don't necessarily see as a vice.
Right.
But everyone, in my opinion, has a vice, even if it's for success.
Sure.
You know, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, and this is what I'll be.
Something as a Band-Aid to numb the pain, right? Can be binging on Netflix or, you know, biscuits and gravy. You know, it is all kinds of things that we'll medicate ourselves with. But certainly it sounds like your lived experience that you've got a good handle on all of the challenges that you've faced in your life and are now using those for this positive purpose. When did you first get the first residence for Butterfly Moments? That you were available to provide for someone else? Yes.
Okay, so we had our first house for 4 years. We just moved into our new house in April.
Okay.
Remember, I told you I can't calculate. So what was that, like
4 or 5 years? 6 years ago.
Yes.
Like that. Yeah.
So there was a lady. I was working as a substance abuse counselor here in Clarksville at one of our agencies, and there was a lady and I worked with only men.
Okay.
There was a lady who came in, and it was the wife of one of the guys that I worked with. And we had transportation that would come to this agency, and they were coming to pick her up. He was in recovery. And I looked at her, and I took off my scarf, and I just heard God saying, help her. This lady right here, I have a plan for her. Help her. And I walked past. She said, I like your scarf. I was like, take this scarf. And then she came and she's like, I like your hat. And I think she started saying, you know, so I'm taking everything off it. I'm like, okay,
is that all it takes? You know, I can get some stuff off this lady.
And she did. And she also told me that she meant this time was her last time going to get help. And asked me, would I help her when she came back? And before I thought about it, I said, sure. I'll be right here when you need somewhere to go. And I knew she would be gone like 9 months, right? So I had some time. She called me in like 4.5 months and said, I'm coming out on this day, which was less than a week. I have finally gotten my life to a point where I can go to a bank and I can borrow money. It was $5,000. She told me she was coming. I didn't know what to do. When she came, Butterfly Moments had already started fundraising, and we had probably $2,000-3,000 in the bank, and we used that to get her a hotel room.
Okay.
Until we found the landlord, which his name is Derek Stevens, and he gave us a chance.
Yes.
He gave us a chance, and when she went in there the first night, she was sleeping on an air mattress, and we had bags, you know, grocery bags of food that she had.
Well, That's an amazing story. There's a couple things that I want to pull out from that. Number
Okay.
2, you said Derek Stevens is the landlord, and he took a chance.
Yes.
What do people not understand? What is the chance? Why is it a risk for the landlord, and why is it such a challenge for you as a person who's wanting to provide someone a place to stay, a residence, even with cash on hand? Why is it such a challenge to find people in recovery a place to stay? Because somebody's got to sign the lease. Somebody's got to go through the background check. Somebody's got to, get the income to rent ratios and all these things. So talk a little bit about that as someone who's looking to provide housing, even in our own community, how that can be such a challenge.
Absolutely. Not in my backyard. I don't want those people over here where they're going to mess up what's going on. I don't want my children around them. And that's just my story. So, and then the background checks and signing the lease, it was important at that time not to sign the lease in my name.
Yes.
Butterfly Moments is a viable entity. Let me sign for Butterfly Moments, and that's what he did.
Okay.
And giving us a chance, and was absolutely supportive until it was time for us to move. Our funding after that $5,000 in the four years, our funding came through the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Okay.
So I wrote a grant. I had a lot of help writing a grant, and I got the grant for $275,000.
Wow.
That's how we built the veteran apartments, still using the home that we were using. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and still using that home until wrote another grant, still had help. And we got $326,000. I had another guy. He was one of the first, we call them old timers in recovery. And he had a home on Richardson Street. They called it the Life Center. The Life Center had been there since early 60s. And he deeded me that land and told me, give me $50,000 for it and pay just the interest of $200 a month. And let me tell you how that $200 a month felt like $2,000 a month.
Yes.
But we came up with it, wrote the grant, and out of the grant, wrote part of it to pay that debt off. So we were debt-free on a property. And then we have Bert Singletary, the best guy ever.
Yeah, legend.
Man, he's so amazing. And he would probably be mad if I mentioned his name. So sorry, but you know, I'm just grateful. Look, I'm looking at the camera now. Because you really did change the trajectory of Butterfly Moments. He was there for the first apartment and for this home. We have, did I mention 7 bedrooms, 15 beds,
That's unbelievable.
4 bathrooms, close to 4,000 square feet. Just amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And, you know, we'll shout out to Bert once again.
I know,
But, you know,
gosh.
somebody who has his own business, this is his industry. He understands apartments and housing better than, you know, he's top 10 in Clarksville for sure, of people who just know how to get things done in that element. And then to say, you know, God's blessed me with some success in this area, and then now I can use what I've learned in my industry with the resources that I have and the, you know, subs and things that he's got already rolling through, and really be a blessing to an organization like that. Those are the stories in our community that I really like highlighting, because sometimes people don't hear those great stories about people like Bert Singletary. Sorry, Bert, you're out in the open now. They don't hear about it because, you know, he's so humble that he's not looking to go put this on a billboard of, hey, look what I did. The reality is he's so busy that he finds an opportunity. Yes, I can help. I'm going to help. And then I move on. And Bert just keeps doing what Bert's doing, you know, and never does he just sit back and say, give me the recognition that I want. And yet we as a community have so many people with, you know, lots of success, lots of resources at their disposal, and yet they choose to use them as a blessing to other people. And that's one of those story. So I appreciate you mentioning that, because that's a story that we really like to tell. The other part of your story of the first lady that you mentioned who you helped out was things came unexpectedly, right?
Yes.
You're planning on 9 months. She calls you in half the time.
Yes.
She calls you with about a week notice.
Yes.
And I would imagine that is a real challenge a lot, is because for what I know of your, kind of sphere of influence, things become unexpectedly urgent very quickly because I need help with this or I need help with this. And it's not like we've got a few months to plan. By the nature of the situation, these very basic and real needs sometimes come up, bam, I've got 4 days, or I need something tonight. Yeah. And so talk to us a little bit about how you've had to learn how to help people when you've got seemingly overcome, odds that can't be overcome, short timeline. How are you navigating that for your organization? Long pause.
Yeah, long pause. I'm just careful with that response. I tell people all the time, it's God. If God does not tell me, I do not know. Yeah. That's my period. Yeah. But I am careful to listen. I stay faithful on my knees praying. I understand that people come and they see me, but they don't realize that I have to see God before I'm able to even help. And I say that because I didn't have formal training for a nonprofit. I do have a lot of experience, in addiction and mental illness, but I just got the education or just got licensed last year. So everything that's been done, it's been God. Yes. Absolutely. And I tell people, I've lost people who came on board because they came on with the intention on learning from someone who knew something about a nonprofit. And I was telling them, no, but we can learn together. Sure. And when they came and they saw that there's this lady who God's got to be talking to because that's the only way it's happening. Yes.
What do I do with that? Yeah. I'm going to have to go learn from somebody else.
Yeah. And I'm open to share, but if I don't know, I don't know. Yes. And I'm comfortable not knowing, sitting in that discomfort, waiting on God, no different than I had to at the very beginning, no different than I knew it was God that told me the vision of Butterfly Moments sitting in a jail cell. Wow. I trust God, and I just like watching what he's doing in lives.
Yeah. Because I imagine a lot of it is watching. You're sitting here saying, okay, you've got this vision. I've said this on this show before, the best visionary leaders, their vision always outpaces the resources they have. Their vision is always ahead of the resources that they have. And a lot of times the vision is so big that they're not going to be able to get the resources to accomplish the vision unless there's a miraculous component to this. You meet someone, you gather information, you get the training, you whatever it may be, but God fills in that moment and then allows you to be used to be the catalyst that brings things forward. Yeah. For someone who's just a random member of the community like myself to know that there is a person of character and integrity who is humble enough to know that they don't have all the answers, leading an organization like that's really inspiring, really, really powerful. So I want to talk to you a little bit about our local community because this is your home. You said that Clarksville, Montgomery County is really important to you. And a lot of times on this show, we get to talk about lots of fun and exciting things that are happening, new events, new things that have mass community appeal. This is a hard topic. This is something that sometimes we'd rather ignore, substance abuse, mental illness. But what are you seeing specifically in our community that is unique to our community that may not be the same experience in another, let's say, major metro area like Nashville or a different community? But what are the needs specific to Clarksville, Montgomery County that you feel like are unique to Clarksville, Montgomery County? Or are there at all?
Absolutely, they are. Clarksville is really private with what goes on in our families. We don't want to share, and that means we're not seeing that support group grow. You're seeing there's not as many services. Butterfly Moments is the first Christ-centered recovery home in Clarksville. God told me that too when I was in the jail cell. Okay,
wow. Yeah.
So there isn't as far as addiction is concerned, we are not unique. People are dying all over the state of Tennessee from fentanyl overdose, from heroin overdose, from prescription overdose. And it's Clarksville needs to recognize and support those who are in substance use.
Yeah.
Those who are actively in using. And it's not, like you said, it's not, we've always thought the society, where we come from, where we live, the people we hang with, it's not that. Because I have clients who are attorneys, who are doctors, and I also have the stay-at-home mom who was, had an injury from the birth or something. But everybody needs someone.
Sure.
And just to lessen that stigma.
Yeah. What are some of the common mental illness challenges that you're facing? Because I think someone who may not understand, they don't know how broad that spectrum can be. They might think of mental illness as, oh, that's just schizophrenia, right? It's just one diagnosis, or all I know about is bipolar disorder. They may not know how wide that spectrum is. So can you tell us a little bit about, how sometimes it can seemingly be very mild and sometimes it is obvious to anyone?
Yeah. First, let me say that there's a doctor, Dr. Kenneth Minkoff, and he has his Minkoff's parallels. So that parallel is showing you exactly how everything that you see with substance abuse and mental illness mirror.
Yes.
Every aspect of it except euphoria. And everybody doesn't experience euphoria. So one of the instances that I find with mental illness is when you say on that spectrum, and that's where maybe the police are concerned, right? An involuntary commitment to a mental health institution. But it also includes depression. Depression that someone might say, if when I smoke weed, I feel better, and not understanding they're self-medicating, or even pain in the body can be experienced when you are dealing with mental illness. Yeah. So mental illness varies. It's not something that you feel. It can be every day, it can be monthly, but when it's recurring, it's okay to talk to someone about it.
Sure.
It's okay to take medications. There's such a stigma with medication and attending therapy appointments. But even therapists have therapists.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right? So just a willingness to have a change in your life at any stage of it. Because depression can be silent.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who complete suicide and they were silent. They aren't the squeaky wheel.
That's the story that gets told. We had no idea.
Yeah.
That person was the light of the party in the room. They were, they worked so hard. They did this. We had no idea there was something going on. I want to talk a little bit about your mom, or how families play a role in these things, because your mom was such a critical component to your story of healing and recovery, of opening her home, even after what I feel like, and I may be assuming something, she probably had a lot of experiences leading up to that moment that maybe challenged her willingness to be that next step as you're coming out of jail, right? So, some of our listeners may be a family member of someone who is struggling with either mental illness or substance abuse, and you don't know when the line is leading into, okay, we're enabling, we are allowing this lifestyle to continue to happen and not getting them on the journey to recovery. But it's also a challenge of, when is it going to be the right time to be the safe place where that recovery can then truly happen? So if you had some advice for families who may be struggling with it in silence, right? Because you're not telling anybody these things are happening for the most part. But if you have some advice for families, what would that be?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Just keep fighting. My mom did. It was a challenge to let me in. I mean, I stole from my mom. I took family jewelry from my mom. And when she never said, don't come around. She never, she didn't give me money which was really smart. My family really cut me off from that, from money. So it became more of a struggle to get drugs, but it was a struggle that I was willing to face, at that time. I'm also a mom. I have 4 children. Wow. My oldest, I have 3 boys and 1 girl. And I left them. When I left, my youngest was, I think, 2. And I missed my daughter's high school graduation. I left her, to be taken care of by other people. And today, I was always honest with them. And I know that's weird to say because the mindset is hide it. I'm ashamed, hide it. But I didn't have anywhere else to go. And I was saying, help me. And I was saying, I don't know what else to do. So when we hear that from our loved ones, we want to think that they're manipulating. But in reality, they're looking for a way to control their life, to take control of their life. So don't give up. Be honest. Hey, you took from me. Hold them accountable. When I say don't give up, I'm not saying at night when they've already taken something, let them back in the house. No, call a rehab. Call around. Hold them accountable. But everyone's not ready to be in recovery. But you never know when this is the time that they will, that they'll get it. Because I tried many times. Yeah. It took me years to even understand, wow, this is addiction.
Yes.
And now that I had an answer, I could move forward. You don't even hear in homes that people will say, this looks like addiction to me. They're saying you're crazy, all these stigma words, you're crazy, you're out of control.
No good.
Yeah, can't trust you, but this is addiction.
Sure.
This is mental illness. Yeah. And there's no cure, but there's a treatment, right? Yeah. Help me find that treatment.
Wow. That's a powerful word. Somebody's going to rewind that real quick. Let's do it again. Get on it. Well, Mary, this has just been a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us, be as vulnerable as you were about your own story. There's so much wisdom. And I hope if you're listening or you're watching and you're not connected to Butterfly Moments in any way, but you know that this episode, this story hit you in a different way because you have a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a mother, whoever it may be. I feel like is an episode worth sharing. Go ahead and send it to them, knowing that this is not a story of Mary Laremore from Charlotte, North Carolina, who has nothing to do. Like, we are here, local, Clarksville, Montgomery County, and we didn't get into the whole story, but sometimes Mary may not have all the answers, but you've done it long enough to know how to point people in the right direction. And sometimes as a family member, that's the hardest challenge of, I know we need to help, I just don't even know where to start, don't know where to go. So share that episode with someone, get the help that we need as a community, but also look up Butterfly Moments. We'll tag, we'll link some stuff in the episode description, both on podcast platforms and on YouTube for people to learn more. But this has really been a blessing to hear more about what you're doing. What a long journey, but what an important journey to help our community and to help people who feel like they're ready to experience their full recovery and to be able to provide the basic needs to eventually allow them to have a story just like yours, where you can tell it in full confidence. You have, a grace about you as you share it, that that season of life for you is over, and this season of life that you're in now is being a blessing to others to help get them along their journey as well.
Blessed to be a blessing.
Absolutely. Yeah. This has been a very fun episode. Thank you, if you've listened to it, for making it all the way to the end. I know that you've heard so much from Mary, her story, Butterfly Moments, and just another person in our community here in Clarksville, Montgomery County, who is making this place the greatest place to live. When you ask people what makes Clarksville so great, it's always the people. And it's people like Mary, I just had the first chance to meet her today. I know there's more from all around our community. I'm very thrilled to have brought her to you, so you could hear more of her story. So if you liked this episode, rewind, all the way back to episode 1. Find somebody that you're familiar with. Find somebody maybe that you don't know. It's always been our goal just to share more of the story so you get a good feel of the people who make up our community and who are doing positive things in lots of different ways. Thanks so much. Catch you on the next episode.